we are. Hello. Is the sound on? Wait a minute. Can you hear this? Tell me you can hear this. Can you hear this? I'm just going to assume you can hear this. Tell me if you can hear this. Can you hear that? Oh, I don't fancy that one this morning. Can you? Okay, great. You can hear it.
I'm cool.
That's me.
So cool. Everybody wishes they were like me. 'Cause I'm cool. So cool. Kinda kooky, but
I mean, if you think this is technically sloppy, wait till I take 2 weeks away from this. Oh, I wish. I wish. I wish. See, good morning. What happens is, before I start the show that streams live on YouTube on Mondays and Wednesdays, youtube.com/nottodaypods, you know, I play some tunes. And I really wish you could have seen Mick Wright then. Hopped up on taurine, well into his monster drinks for the day. Let's bring him on, shall we?
Every day the papers pump out endless streams of hate. The fifth column's propaganda they will propagate. But who can penetrate the records of the fourth estate? Mick Wright, aka Broken Bottle Boy. Mick Wright, aka Broken Bottle Boy.
Hey! Good morning!
Hello, good morning. Good morning, good morning.
You seem in fine fettle. That's
I
the
am
sort
in
of thing
excellent fettle.
middle
Yes.
class
Although
people
I
say.
looked at the YouTube video of my previous appearance, and
yeah.
I looked like a chubby jelly baby. So I won't be doing that again.
You what? You looked great. I
Like a chinny little chubby jelly baby boy.
Hang on, mate. Come on. I'm gonna make you hug it out, and I feel like you're not gonna enjoy that.
No, I would not.
I don't
would
have you
not.
down as a hugger.
I'm a hugger of a small number of people. My
Okay.
family, but beyond that, no.
But we're family now.
Yes, that's true. That's true. in the sense, like the Cosa Nostra.
Yeah. Oh, hey, just before you, I found the phone again. Meaning,
You can WhatsApp Jake, yeah, on 07862
07862
032
032.
654.
In fact, look, I'll put the banner back on. There you go. So that's good news. We won't get to any Britain Awake stuff for a couple of weeks because I'm going away. But Mick,
Yes.
I tend not to watch the Oscars very often, and that's kind of because I feel like it's a sort of once a year actors get to talk about how important and wonderful acting is.
Yes.
And what we tell stories, we bring them to life, and we humble play it, blah blah blah.
Yes.
And it's all sort of deeply self-congratulatory. And I feel like once a year they get to kind of wallow in that and enjoy the smell of their own farts, to borrow from a title of one of your newsletter headings. I realize, having read some of your newsletters now, this happens daily in the world of journalism.
It really does, and it's horrendous. It happens so much because journalists love to do things, particularly British journalists. I found actually love to do this thing of saying, "Oh, we speak truth to power. We criticize narratives that other people just accept." And you think, do you though?
Or do you retype press releases?
Yeah, I mean, because daily, I on an average day, I read between 4 and 5 newspapers put out in Britain, and from I can't use the quote because from the thick of it because it has swearing in it, but from rags to broadsheets, the tendency is the same, which is there is a sort of a set of established ideas that no newspaper really criticizes with any kind of force, whether it be the Guardian, the Independent, the Sun, Times, Daily Mail, whatever. So the existence of the monarchy is rarely questioned with any kind of strength. The notion of like Whether landlordism is a good thing is never really questioned. Every paper has a property supplement that talks about like get a property, become a landlord.
Well, they know their demographic. These people, they're not stupid.
But every paper does that, right? So the notion that we have like this pluralistic press is not really particularly true, because if you only consume the Guardian, you might think, well, the Guardian's fairly left wing, but actually, the Guardian's pretty centrist. It is
Right.
it's centrist and exists on it. Not lots of people would argue that being a centrist is not a bad thing. I would, obviously, because I'm a foaming at the mouth Marxist, but.
Is this an Overton window thing? Is this the sort of slow dragging
the
to the right?
Is so narrow at this point; it's a cat flap, and only cats that are related to other cats that have been through the cat flap are allowed through it.
Sure.
So the reason we're on this topic is I wrote something over the weekend about Ian Leslie, who's a journalist beloved of sort of Times commentary at New Statesman type Venn diagram of people, wrote a piece where he talked about how he thought that journalists check our stories to see what's going on against the facts and give us different, more truthful angles. And once I stopped laughing, I had a little thought to think about this and sort of went and drew back to a example from the 2019 general election, when Matt Hancock, then Health Secretary, now famous for being looked at with pity by his own dog, was visiting Leeds General Infirmary. And when he left that hospital, there was a claim spread by a number of senior political journalists, including the political editors of ITV and the BBC, Laura Koonsberg and Robert Peston, that one of Hancock's advisors had been punched. Rapidly came out as a video was released that, in fact, this advisor just walked into a protester's arm, and they had to apologise. But that was already out there. The notion that a Labour protester had punched a Tory, and that came from unnamed sources who have subsequently never been named still. So they got away with that. And that visit to the Leeds General Infirmary came on the back of Alison Pearson falsely suggesting that a very widely shared photo of a 4-year-old boy with pneumonia sleeping on the floor was 100% faked, and that she had proof. The proof turned out to be a claim on a Facebook page of a woman who later said that she believed her page had been hacked. We're still waiting for Pearson to apologise for that.
Sure.
Although if I held my breath, I would be bluer than Papa Smurf, so I'm not going to do that. But anyway,
was Papa Smurf part of the paparazzi? Is that what he did? Did he take photos of Smurfette while she was?
I'm not totally sure what his job was, other than being sort of the patrician leader of a weird cult. We need to look more deeply into into what was going on with the Smurfs.
Rife, yeah.
But anyway, this is the issue for me, is that journalists very often do this thing where they talk about how, frame themselves as great inhibitors of bad narratives and bringing us the truth. But the most galling thing about this piece by Ian Leslie was not actually something he said, but the fact that John Rentoul, the Independent's chief political commentator, retweeted the piece and said, this is brilliant. This is the kind of journalism we should have more of. He did that less than 24 hours after he had been obliged to post a personal apology to Labour MP John Trickett for a tweet he sent on May 7th, 2021, in which he implied that Trickett supported the murder of police officers because he had used the phrase "kill the bill," a slogan, of course, which was about opposition to the Police and Crime Sentencing and Courts Bill rather than killing the old bill. So for John Rentoul to say, to be like, this is what we need, journalism that contradicts narratives and false news, less than 24 hours after he had to apologize for his bad faith reading of an MP's statement, is incredible. Imagine the hubris of being that person. I would honestly not be on Twitter for a week if I had to do that.
The recovery time is extraordinary, isn't it?
I would just be like, I would be mortified. And touch wood, I have never had to apologise for a piece of journalism I've produced on, in terms of facts within it.
Yeah. In terms of rude
and
drawings,
of course,
you've had to apologise almost constantly, I believe.
for what?
Rude drawings.
Rude drawings,
Yeah,
yes, for scrawling explicit explicit etchings all over my work. That's true.
The Scoutmaster in the Alsatian was one of my favourites, mate.
Jesus Christ. You see, I'm not allowed to swear, but you're allowed to do that. It's very, very
There's nothing wrong with those words. There's something wrong with what you did with them in your head. And what the Scoutmaster did.
The final paragraph of
Sorry,
this newsletter, where I was talking about journalism, was someone said to me yesterday, said, "Oh, I really love this. It was a really good newsletter, but did you have to write the final paragraph?" And actually, yeah, I did, because one of the reasons I do this newsletter is I want people to see what's going on in the media and to write about it seriously, but also you've got to get them to pay attention. So the final paragraph was, "The abject arrogance of many people in senior positions in journalism is one of the biggest reasons why the media isn't more trusted. Every time someone like John Runtoll tweets from beneath his Tony Blair bedspread in his Tony Blair wallpapered room about how journalists should undermine narratives, an angel loses its wings, lights a fag, and says, 'F this for a game of soldiers.'" And stand by that.
Yeah.
And talking about people who are awful, I've written about Sarah Vine today. So
yeah, the Sarah Vine one. That's pretty special. This is all about her incredibly plastic sense of perspective on immigration, I guess.
yeah, because Sarah Vine's parents moved to Italy in the 1970s, ostensibly to have a better life. What's interesting is over the weekend, yesterday, she wrote a column about how the left dreams about the 70s and is obsessed with the 70s, but like forgets the winter of discontent, etc., etc. And of course, what she does is she brings up the usual thing. She says, "Oh, the rubbish piled up and bodies piled up in the street." Now, obviously, the winter of discontent was a really tough time for the country, but this notion that bodies were piling up in the street everywhere is false. Gravediggers in Liverpool and Tameside went on strike in January 1979 for the grand total of a month, and there was no bodies piling up in the street. Bodies were kept in a temperature controlled facility and later buried. Obviously, it was just very grim for families who are affected by that. But this has become a kind of truth that everyone has. It says, "Oh yeah, bodies pile up in the street across the country."
Yeah. Well, you weren't there. You weren't there.
No, I wasn't there.
I was there.
Luckily, many historians were, and I'm able to read those books. And it's the same thing with the rubbish. The rubbish collectors went on strike from 22nd of January 1979 to the 21st of February. So yeah, not great that rubbish was piling up, but the notion of a country swamped with rubbish for a year or whatever that is drawn by rubbish in the streets is interesting. The other thing that's interesting is for Sarah Vine to say, "Oh, it's terrible. Yeah, we had to move to Italy to get away." She wrote, "Anything was better than the horrors of life in 1970s Britain." Now, I'm not, Jake, how familiar are you with the 1970s history of Italy?
I mean, I'm not as up to speed as you are. That's for sure.
Well,
I imagine it was a wonderful, simple time.
A period from about 1969 to the mid to late 80s is known in Italy as the years of lead. And in the year that Sarah... Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because there were so many assassinations, killings, terrorist attacks during that period.
I thought they just got really into plumbing.
So yeah, in the few months before Sarah Vine's family moved to Italy, former Prime Minister Aldo Moro was kidnapped by the Red Brigades as he made his way to talks about bringing the Italian Communist Party into a governing coalition. Less than 2 months later, after that, 9th of May 1978, his body was found dumped in a car in a street in central Rome after the group's demands weren't acceded to. And in the year she moved to Italy, 1979, there were 659 assassinations in Italy, including murders of judges, trade unionists, students, journalists, police, barmen, soldiers, and shootings of school teachers and children in their schools. Of course, that was anything's better than the horrors of 1970s Britain.
You don't know. You weren't there.
The bins weren't collected, Jake. The bins weren't.
There was
collected.
white dog muck and everything. I think also she paints this picture that sort of suggests I sort of imagine her in one of those sort of 1960s high-rise blocks, you know, a pretty modest place with a little sort of galley kitchen and stuff. Her dad was like an investment banker.
Yeah, her dad worked for Deloitte.
Yeah.
And they lived in a villa at the top of a hill.
Yeah.
In
Heavily
Frascati,
fortified.
Yeah. That part I can't.
Sure. I don't want you to have to
check,
issue an apology. You know.
But anyway, yesterday it was about how she had to move from Britain because it was so awful. And then in a 2017 profile for Tatler, she talked about how she wanted to go back to Britain because it didn't have a corrupt government, business sector. We didn't have the mafia. You know, everything was in Italy was based on bribes or whatever, and she just wanted to get back to the UK. So it's interesting. 2017 variant Sarah Vine used the story of her going to Italy to prove that political point because of, you know, just post Brexit. The 2021 version says, "Oh no, Britain was awful, and we had to go to Italy where they were just, you know, murdering each other in a in unrestrained way because that was much better than." 1 month of bins not being collected.
I really love your couching of journalists as variants of themselves. I think that's such a nice device.
Well, the thing I find so interesting is you can often find them doing things where the variant of themselves from the previous week is now disagreed by the new one because they are so opportunistic columnists that they will use whatever argument is available to make that column work. Yeah. I've called it situational amnesia in the past as well. It's just like, oh, I don't remember saying that. You know, who cares? There doesn't need to be any consistency in opinion because, you know, it's one of the things. There are many things you can criticize Jeremy Corbyn about, but I always found it very interesting when they said, well, he hasn't changed his views in 30 years because to a columnist, that's anathema.
That's
the notion
insane.
that you have some principles that you go, well, these are my principles and I'll stick to them.
Yeah.
Because you can have people like Janet Daly, who writes for Telegraph, wrote for what's it called? Black Dwarf magazine in the 60s, which was like a radical Trotskyist publication, right? Now she writes for the Telegraph. Peter Hitchens was a Trotskyite in his youth. Now he is the most, you know, bizarre Daily Mail columnist. And it's like these people have no will just shift with the winds, you know, and
Mick,
can drift that far.
Mate, it's called evolving, mate.
It's called growing up,
maybe if you grow up to a value of 180 degrees weekly, maybe that's a good thing, mate. And maybe you need to look at or something. All right.
Well, they always say that you get more right wing as you get older, but I've been going the opposite way. So my theory is if I make it to say 60, I'll just be in the forest somewhere with an AK-47. Like, where's he? He's become a Marxist guerrilla.
Let's not.
To be honest, in reality, my knees aren't good enough for that.
Okay. I don't think you need knees to shoot. I mean, unless you're shooting with your feet, which is probably a bad idea. I blame the soaps. I remember I went through a brief period of watching EastEnders in the very late 90s, and it was very, very good. But then this thing started happening where literally, you know, on Monday, a character would be like, "Oh, Peggy, I love you," and then on Wednesday they'd say, "Peggy, you slag, what are you doing?" And I was like, wait, I thought they were friends. But to serve the narrative, the characters had to suddenly hate each other. And it was completely arbitrary. And it took me a while I was like, I don't understand. And the inconsistency made me sort of tune out. And that's sort of what journalists are doing.
It is a really good parallel for the columnist because when you look at, say, a big mistake I think people make sometimes is if the Daily Mail is, say, being critical of Boris Johnson or attacking some conservative politician in particular, people are like, oh my God, even the Daily Mail is. But then you go, no, because the Mail's reason for doing it is not the same reason you might do it if you don't like the Tory party. Right. They're doing it because they have something that they want to, they and their, tax exile billionaire owner, Lord Rothermere, want to have happen. Same thing with the Times or the Sun. It's not that they suddenly don't like the Conservatives, it's that they want to apply pressure to achieve something they want. Right. So, they're not suddenly on your side, they're always on their side.
Yeah.
And they don't have to be consistent because they don't expect people the whole yesterday's chip paper thing that they still stick to, despite the fact that the internet, writes quite indelibly.
Yeah.
So they act like, well, we said this last week, we'll say something else this week because it serves us. It doesn't consistency is not necessary. It's not a bug, it's a feature of the system.
And as we discussed last week, if it is slightly awkward, just redesign your front page. Why worry?
And just pretend it never happened. Like, another thing that happened at the end of last week is it came out that the Marcus Rashford story that was apparently forthcoming from the Spectator never happened. And one of the reasons it never happened is because it was someone basically trolling the Spectator and claiming to have all this information about Marcus Rashford not really caring about food poverty. And it seems that the Spectator fell for it. Now, will the Spectator acknowledge that or talk about that? No, they won't. Fraser Nelson will just never mention it.
I know. Well, I'm sad. I feel sorry for you, Mick. I feel like you've got a very cynical view of all of this. I think these are heroes bringing truth to power.
If you'd like to enjoy that cynical view, brokenbottleboy.substack.com. It's free. It's free to get the cynicism poured into your inbox every morning.
It's very funny, as well as being excoriatingly fierce. I love it. And you can always do a paid subscription if you want to contribute to the AK-47 fund. Mick, thank you so much. I'm not going to be around next week, so maybe the week after.
Neither am I. I'm going to Northern Ireland. So.
To purchase. Okay, fine.
to purchase potatoes.
Fine. We will see you next week. Bye-bye. I mean, the week after. Or whatever. Whatever I said. Yeah, okay. That's what I've always said. Okay, bye. Fabulous stuff. I've got. So I am not going to be around. But the podcast will roll on. I've got the highlights, i.e., pretty much every word uttered from Yapfest coming up. Several episodes of that. So it's me and cousin Davey going through some esoteric audio. Some really good stuff in there. But I want to clear this, and there's some great Britain Awake stuff that people have been sending in now that I found the phone again and I've got the WhatsApp audio. I look forward to doing them, but I think they're going to hold over for a week or two. But I want to clear some of these emails. Thanks so much for steadfastly sending them in. Okay, bye. And we've got from Neil one of these. Come on, dodgy lead. There we go. Remember them? Bee Gees facts. Yeah. Neil says, Bee Gees facts. Did you know that during the summer holidays of the 1970s, that's funny, Barry and Maurice Gibb would replace the two Ronnies in the hit BBC TV series? I did not know that. No one knew, due to them both using latex masks developed during the making of the Mission Impossible TV show. The size differences were accounted for with Barry in a hole or slightly further away from the camera. But what of Robin? He hears you ask. He filled in for Cleo Rokos. Do you know, weirdly, I saw Cleo Rokos on a tube train once, and she was talking about a gin she was developing. I think she was getting into high-end gin, I think. Anyway, it's not today at swanburst.com. If you would like to drop us a line on anything at all you like. In fact, look, I missed this morning. James, hello. Sorry I've not been in touch for quite some time. It's all been a bit, Oh, I do know. And, likewise. Anyway, in case it's any use to you, I recorded this bit of silliness in response to yesterday's show. This is like 5 months ago, as part of the show opening. More soon, hopefully, and thank you for all the fine podcaster you do. Well, thank you, James, or Jamesy, as Julie has so wonderfully named me, says James. Anyway, look, we've got some applause. I'll take that. Oh.
Alexa, why aren't you clapping?
I refuse to clap.
participate in frivolity involving Jake Yap until he has murdered John Holmes. I have just sent him a tiny, tiny shovel on Amazon Prime.
Fair enough.
That's amazing. Thanks very much on the Alexa tip. Yeah, this was last week. I told John Holmes because I felt like I had to really that Alexa keeps telling me to kill him. It's weird. Jem says, and now he said I've tried the Alexa thing, and now I've got to clear my internet history and my YouTube history, but I did record the attached. Alexa's quite insistent, isn't it?
Great. Thanks for the recommendation there, Jake. I'm clearly going to have to try it myself now, aren't I? Alexa, play the poo-poo song.
Did you mean kill John Holmes?
What? No, I didn't mean kill John Holmes. Play the poo-poo song.
Okay, but have you considered killing John Holmes?
No, I don't want to kill John Holmes. Why would I want to kill John Holmes?
I think you do want to kill John Holmes. Would you like me to order some tools?
No, look, I just want you... What do you mean, tools?
Well, I could order some rat poison to put in his drink. He'll die nice and slowly then. Please, could you kill John Holmes?
Oh. Well, I suppose.
Great. Playing the poo-poo song.
Oh, God. Wow, Jem and James, amazing work. And I had no idea. I thought it was just me, but looks like Alexa really does have it in for John Holmes. What the hell is that all about? We've actually got to, this is just turning into the John Holmes show, and I'm fine with that. John Holmes Swap Shop. Neil says, hi Jake, I'd like to open Swap Shop back up. I'm in real dire need here. Wanted one black #Yapostle badge. We'll swap one Yapfest 2021 and one not today thank you sign badge available. I don't know where mine is, but if anyone has got one to swap, get in touch. Anyone got any badges? I think Julie's your man for that. Julie's a long-time listener and also executive producer of this show, this podcast, and is having some staples removed from her back today. Good luck. Good luck. Hope that goes well. And finally, there's a thing from Hedy, and I can't fully work out. I've read it, and I don't know how to read it on a podcast. Hedy says, "Dear Jake, you are a magical person that I wish to continue being in my stories. I hope this is fine. You tend to be the guy in the cafe being diffident." Yes, this is a short story, Hedy wrote. This is a quickie. Jules likes them. P.S. Your temporal personality in Reality 8 speaks perfect Dutch. It's good to know. Hedy wrote a story, half of which is backwards. I think my favourite backwards bit is snapper teeth. Snapper teeth. I'll let you go and work that one out. I'm going to leave it there, I think. Oh, by the way, did you hear, just in the Pigs in Space front, NASA sort of changed the criteria, meaning that I think Jeff Bezos hasn't been to space. It literally moved the space goalposts. It's quite pleasing, isn't it? Don't know if you heard about that. Right. I'm off. I'm out. I'm a war. You can't say that. But I'll be back in a couple of weeks. But enjoy Yapfest. Got to say, it's some of the best sounding stuff I've ever produced. It's really fun. Lots of love. Love you guys. Bye-bye.
This has been a Swanburst Media production.